Your garage is the first thing most people see when they pull up to your home, and these 10 features are quietly telling them the wrong story. 10 garage features that make your home look cheap. Starting with number 10. Number 10. A garage door that has never been painted or maintained. The garage door is one of the largest single surfaces on the front of any home. On most properties, it takes up more visual space than the front door, the windows, and the porch combined, which means the condition of that door is doing more work on first impressions than most homeowners ever stop to consider. A garage door that has not been maintained announces itself immediately. Peeling paint, faded panels, rust streaks running down from the hardware, weather seal hanging loose at the bottom. Each of these individually looks like a minor issue. Together, they tell anyone approaching the property the same thing: this home has not been looked after. Here is what most homeowners miss. The garage door does not need to be new to look good. It needs to look intentional. A clean, freshly painted door in a color that relates to the rest of the house reads as considered. The same door with peeling paint and oxidized hardware reads as neglected, regardless of how well everything else is maintained. I assessed a property recently where the house itself was in excellent condition, good planting, clean driveway, freshly painted front door. But the garage door was original, never repainted, with a bottom panel that had started to delaminate at one corner. Every agent who came through mentioned it. One buyer used it specifically to justify a lower offer, citing it as evidence of deferred maintenance across the property. The door was repainted and the hardware replaced for under $300. The conversation stopped. A garage door does not need replacing to stop making the home look cheap. Clean it properly, address any rust or peeling, repaint in a color that works with the house, replace tired hardware. Do those 4 things, and the front of the property reads completely differently from the street. Number 9 is something almost every garage has on display, and most homeowners have completely stopped seeing it. Number 9. Cheap plastic storage bins. In full view, most garages have them. A row of mismatched plastic bins, different colors, different brands, different sizes, stacked against the wall or sitting on a shelf directly in the sightline of anyone who pulls up to the house or walks through the door. Individually, each bin is a practical solution to a storage problem. Together, faded and mismatched, and stacked in no particular order, they create something specific: visual noise. The kind that reads as cheap before the brain has even had time to process why. Here is the problem with plastic bins that have been accumulated rather than chosen. Color fades at different rates depending on material and sun exposure. Lids warp. Labels peel. The result is a collection of containers that look like they were gathered rather than selected, which communicates something about the whole space. Premium garage spaces do not avoid storage containers. They use them in a consistent system. One color, one brand, one material. Uniform bins in a neutral tone, black, gray, white, stored consistently on a matching shelf or racking system, look like a decision was made. Mismatched faded bins in 4 different colors look like storage problems were solved one at a time over many years without any thought for how they would all look together. I walked a garage recently where the owners had actually spent money on good racking. The structure was solid, the shelving was well positioned, but every shelf was loaded with plastic bins in at least 6 different colors: red lids, blue bodies, clear sides, yellow handles. From the driveway, the whole wall read as chaos, even though everything was technically stored. The fix is not expensive. Replace mismatched bins gradually with a single consistent system. Move the remaining mismatched ones to the least visible shelves while you transition. The wall reads completely differently once the color is unified and the lids match. Number 8 affects every property that has one, and most people only notice how bad it looks when they see someone else's. Number 8. Cracked or stained concrete driveway apron. The driveway apron is the section of concrete or paving that runs between the public pavement and the garage door. the short transition strip that connects the road to the garage interior. It takes more vehicle traffic than almost any other surface on the property, and it shows it. Oil stains from parked vehicles, cracking from frost movement and vehicle weight, edges that have broken away where the concrete meets the pavement, weeds establishing in every crack. This is the surface everyone walks across when they arrive, everyone looks down at when they pull in, and everyone notices in property photographs, even when the photographer tried to avoid it. Here is the problem. Most homeowners normalize it. They walk across it every day until it becomes invisible to them. Then a buyer or a valuer arrives and sees it fresh, and it reads as the most visible sign of deferred maintenance on the entire property. I was involved in a sale where the buyer's surveyor specifically flagged the driveway apron condition in the report, not as a structural issue, just as evidence that surface maintenance had not been kept up. The buyer used the report to renegotiate. The cost of resurfacing the apron was a fraction of the renegotiation amount. A cracked apron can often be addressed without full replacement. Professional crack filling and resurfacing, properly done with the right bonding materials, significantly improves appearance and prevents further deterioration. Oil stains respond well to specialist degreasers applied before any resurfacing work. The apron does not need to look new. It needs to stop looking neglected. Number 7 is inside the garage, but visible to anyone who looks, and it makes even an otherwise organized space look unfinished. Number 7. A single harsh bulb, hanging in the middle. Most garages are lit the same way. One bulb, central position, switched on when needed, ignored the rest of the time. That single light source, particularly when it is a bare bulb or a cool white fitting with no diffusion, does more damage to how a garage looks than almost any other single detail. It creates harsh shadows in every corner. It makes walls look dirty even when they are clean. It flattens every surface, removes any sense of depth, and gives the entire space an industrial, temporary quality that no amount of storage or organization can fully overcome. Here is what most people do not realize about garage lighting. The issue is not brightness. Most garages have enough lumens from a central source. The issue is quality. A single overhead point source creates high contrast shadows directly below every shelf, cabinet, and storage item. Those shadows red as grime and clutter even when the surface underneath is spotless. I visited a garage where the homeowner had invested significantly in the fit-out, good floor coating, quality wall cabinets, a well-organized tool wall. The lighting was a single incandescent bulb on a pull cord in the center of the ceiling. The shadows under every cabinet run looked like dirt. The floor edges looked dark and unclean. The whole space felt like a construction site storage room rather than a considered home space. We added 2 LED shop lights distributed across the ceiling for more even coverage, a task light positioned above the workbench, and replaced the central pendant with a surface-mounted LED panel. The same garage looked completely different. Not because anything physical changed, because the light was no longer fighting everything else in the room. Good garage lighting does not need to be complicated. Distribute the sources across the ceiling rather than centralizing them. Use warm or neutral white LED rather than cool white or bare incandescent. Add a dedicated task light over any work surface. Those 3 changes eliminate the harsh shadow problem and make everything else in the garage look more intentional. Number 6 is the detail most people overlook entirely, and it makes a garage look neglected from 20 feet away. Number 6. Old rusted or mismatched hardware. Garage hardware, the hinges, handles, track brackets, and springs visible on the door, is small in scale and almost never thought about deliberately. It came with the house. It works. It gets ignored. Here is the problem with hardware that has been ignored for years. It rusts. It oxidizes. The finish deteriorates in a way that is slow enough to be invisible day to day and obvious enough to be noticed immediately by anyone seeing it fresh. Mismatched hardware, replacement pieces bought in a different finish from the originals because the matching version was out of stock, looks exactly as accidental as it is. Hardware communicates care in a specific way. Well-maintained, matching, Quality hardware says this property has been looked after. Rusted, mismatched, deteriorating hardware says the same thing as peeling paint or a cracked apron, that maintenance has been deferred. I worked on a garage where the door itself was in good condition, but the external hardware was significantly rusted and included 2 replacement hinges in a different finish from the originals. From a distance, the door looked fine. Up close, which is where every visitor, every buyer, and every valuer stands, it looked like it had been neglected for years. Replacing garage door hardware is one of the cheapest and most impactful improvements available. A full set of matching hinges, handles, and decorative hardware in a consistent finish costs between $100 and $300 depending on style. Installation is straightforward. The difference in how the front of the property reads from close range is immediate and significant. Number 5 is being installed in garages everywhere right now as a functional upgrade, and it makes the space look worse, not better. Number 5. A garage door color that fights the exterior. Of all the decisions that make a garage look cheap, this one is almost never talked about, and it is visible from the end of the street. A garage door that has been painted or replaced in a color that bears no relationship to the rest of the house. A bright white door on a warm red brick property. A dark charcoal door on a pale yellow render. A brown door on a house with cool gray tones throughout. None of these are dramatic mistakes in isolation, but against the backdrop of the full facade, they create a visual disconnect that the brain registers immediately, even when the conscious mind cannot name why the front of the house looks slightly wrong. Here is what most homeowners do not understand about color on a garage door. The door is not a standalone element. It is one of the largest surfaces in a composition that includes the brickwork, the render, the window frames, the front door, the roof material, and the landscaping. When the door color relates to that composition, pulls from the same tone family, echoes the trim color, sits in the same warmth or coolness as the rest of the palette, the whole facade reads as considered. When the door color ignores that composition, the whole facade reads as assembled, without thought. I reviewed a property where the house had a warm stone facade with cream window frames and a sage green front door. The garage door, replaced 3 years earlier, was a stark, bright white. The contrast was significant. From the street, the garage felt like it had been transplanted from a different house entirely. The rest of the facade was well maintained and attractive. The door undermined all of it. The owner had chosen the white because it felt safe and neutral. And white is neutral in isolation, but neutral does not mean harmonious. A color that does not clash is not the same as a color that belongs. Repainting a garage door is one of the most cost-effective facade improvements available. The key is not choosing a popular color. It is choosing the right color for that specific house. Look at the dominant tone of the facade material. Look at the front door color. Look at the window frame finish. The garage door should feel like it was always part of that conversation, not like it arrived separately and was never introduced. Number 4 is in almost every garage on every street, and it communicates neglect faster than almost anything else visible from the outside. Number 4. Weeds and deteriorating edges at the garage perimeter. The ground level around the garage, the join between the concrete apron and the garden, the gap between the garage wall and the adjacent planting, the edge where the driveway meets the lawn, is one of the most neglected areas on any property, and it is one of the most visible. Weeds, establishing in the expansion joint between the garage slab and the adjacent surface. Grass encroaching across the driveway edge. Soil building up against the garage wall base from years of accumulated leaf debris and planting overgrowth. These details are individually small. Together, they create a perimeter impression that makes even a well-maintained garage look like it is being reclaimed by the garden. Here is why this matters more than most people appreciate. The perimeter is the frame. Everything inside the frame, the door, the driveway, the hardware, the storage, reads better when the frame is clean and defined. The same door looks better against a clean edge perimeter than against an overgrown weedy one. Not because the door changed, Because the context changed. I walked a property with a homeowner preparing for sale, where the garage itself was in good condition, but the perimeter had not been properly maintained for at least 2 seasons. Weeds were established in every joint. The lawn edge had encroached 12 inches across the driveway edge on one side. The overall impression from the street was of a space that had been left to manage itself. We spent one afternoon clearing the joints, applying a targeted weed killer to prevent regrowth, recutting the lawn edge, and removing the built-up debris from the wall base. The change in the appearance of the whole front of the property was immediate and required no money spent on any physical upgrade. Number 3 is a mistake people make while trying to improve the garage, and it makes the space look worse than doing nothing at all. Number 3. Old torn weather. Stripping around the garage door. Weather stripping is the rubber or vinyl seal that runs around the perimeter of the garage door, along the sides, across the top, and along the bottom where the door meets the floor. It keeps out rain, wind, pests, and cold air. And on most garages, it is in a state of visible deterioration. Torn sections hanging away from the door frame, bottom seals that have cracked and split from years of vehicle contact, side strips that have compressed and no longer sit flush, pieces that have been partially replaced with a different color or profile from the original. None of these are dramatic failures. Each one is small, but from 10 feet away, they communicate exactly the same thing as rust on the hardware or peeling paint on the door surface. That maintenance has been deferred and the detail has been ignored. Here is what makes weather stripping particularly damaging as a visual signal. It runs the full perimeter of the door. That means there is no good angle from which deteriorated stripping is invisible. You see it from the front. You see it from the side. You see it in any photograph that includes the garage door. It is a continuous frame of neglect around one of the largest surfaces on the front of the house. Most homeowners do not notice it because the deterioration is gradual. The seal that looked fine last year looks slightly more cracked this year, and the brain adapts to each stage. Then a buyer or a visitor arrives and sees it fresh, and it reads as the kind of detail that gets ignored on a property where other things have also been ignored. I worked on a property where the garage door had recently been repainted and looked excellent at a distance. Up close, the weather stripping was cracked along the full bottom seal and partially detached on one side. 3 separate viewers mentioned it in their feedback, all using language about the property feeling not quite finished. Full weather stripping replacement is a straightforward job that costs between $50 and $150 in materials. The improvement to how the door reads from close range, that clean, tight, sealed appearance along every edge, is immediate and gives even an older door a sense of completeness it cannot achieve with paint alone. Number 2 is something most homeowners put off indefinitely, and it is one of the first things any buyer notices. Number 2, a garage interior that has never been painted. Raw concrete block or brick walls, bare plywood on surfaces where someone has done partial work, patchy areas where a repair was made but never finished with paint to match, a ceiling that has never had anything applied to it. This is the default state of most garages, and most homeowners accept it as normal, which it is. But normal is not the same as good. Here is what unpainted garage walls communicate to anyone who enters the space. Unfinished, temporary, not quite a real room. The same storage, the same floor, the same organization looks significantly better against a painted surface than against raw masonry or bare timber. Paint does not just cover a wall. It signals that the space was treated as somewhere worth investing in. I worked with a homeowner who was preparing to sell and wanted to know what would make the most difference to how the garage was perceived. The garage was tidy, had decent storage, and a reasonable floor. The walls had never been painted. We primed and painted the walls in a single light gray in one day. No other changes were made. 3 separate buyers who viewed the property after the repaint mentioned the garage positively in their feedback. None of the viewers before the repaint had mentioned it at all. Paint is the cheapest transformation available in a garage. A light neutral, warm white, pale gray, or a soft grayish opens the space, reflects light, and immediately makes everything else in the garage look more considered. One day and a couple of $100 in materials. The impact on perception is completely disproportionate to the cost. Number 1 is not a product or a finish. It is the way the garage is being used, and it is the single biggest signal of how the rest of the property is maintained. Number 1. A garage that functions as a dumping ground. Every item in this list is visible, specific, and fixable. This one is different. A garage that has become the household dumping ground. The place everything goes when there is nowhere else to put it. When decisions are deferred. When things are kept because getting rid of them feels like too much effort. Communicate something about the whole property that no amount of hardware replacement or fresh paint quite overcomes. Here is why this matters beyond aesthetics. Buyers, valuers, and visitors read a garage that is overwhelmed with accumulated clutter as a sign of how the property as a whole has been managed. It is not logical, it is not fair, but it is consistent. A garage that looks like it has been actively managed tells one story. A garage that looks like it has been actively avoided tells another. I have worked on property preparations where the garage was the single biggest factor holding back the perception of an otherwise well-maintained home. Not because anything was broken or in poor condition, simply because 20 years of accumulated items, furniture kept just in case, boxes never unpacked from a previous move, equipment no longer used, materials from projects never finished, had created an impression of overwhelm that attached itself to the whole property in the mind of everyone who walked through. The fix is not a garage renovation, it is a decision. Work out what genuinely needs to stay in the garage and remove everything that does not. Hire a skip, book a charity collection, make the decisions that have been deferred, and clear the space. What is left, almost always, organizes itself simply once the accumulated overfill is gone. A garage that looks deliberately used is an asset. A garage that looks like it absorbs everything the house cannot deal with is a liability. The difference between the two is not a product, it is a decision to treat the space as somewhere worth managing. Which one of these is in your garage right now? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this was useful, subscribe. More coming from the Garden Company. I will see you in the next one.